Everyone's been told the same story about debt. Don't borrow more than you can afford. Pay off your cards every month. Loans are a trap. Stay out of debt and you'll stay ahead. And for most people, that story is completely true. But there's a version of this world that almost nobody talks about, where debt isn't the enemy. Where the wealthiest people alive deliberately borrow money every single year, never fully pay it back, and somehow end up richer because of it. Where a bank hands you tens of millions of dollars and you use it to fund your entire lifestyle tax-free. This isn't a loophole, it isn't illegal, it's been happening across generations of wealth for centuries. And once you understand it, you'll see money completely differently. Let's break down how it actually works. If success is your goal and you're ready to level up, make sure you subscribe. Every video is crafted to move you closer to the life you deserve. Start with the basics. Most people treat debt like a cost, something you take on out of necessity and spend years trying to escape. You borrow money to buy a car that's worth less the moment you drive it off the lot. You carry a balance on a credit card that charges you 22% annually. You take out a mortgage that ties up your monthly income for the next 3 decades. And here's the part nobody talks about. You're paying all of that back with money that's already been taxed. You earn a salary, the government takes its cut, and whatever's left goes toward interest, principal, and fees. You're losing on 2 fronts simultaneously, once to taxes, once to the bank. But zoom out. The actual problem isn't debt. It's the structure of the debt. It's what's backing it, what it's used for, and who has the leverage in the relationship. For the average borrower, the bank holds all the cards. Your creditworthiness is calculated almost entirely on your income. A single stream that could disappear tomorrow if your company downsizes, your health changes, or the economy shifts. The bank knows this, so they charge you for that risk. Higher interest rates, strict repayment schedules, penalties for missed payments. Fall behind enough times, and they take back whatever you bought with their money. You never truly owned it. You were renting it from them with the illusion of ownership. Now flip the entire scenario. Imagine you've spent years accumulating real assets, not consumer goods, not cars or watches or anything that declines in value the moment you acquire it. Actual assets. Income-producing real estate, a portfolio of publicly traded stocks, equity in private businesses with predictable cash flows, land in high-demand areas. These assets share a few critical traits. They grow in value over time, they're relatively stable. They're easy to price and easy to sell if necessary, and they generate income whether you're working or not. When you walk into a private bank with a balance sheet like this, the conversation is entirely different. The bank isn't evaluating your job security. They're evaluating your collateral, and there's a massive difference between those two things. Think about what a bank is fundamentally trying to do: get its money back. When you're income dependent, that outcome is uncertain. When you own $50 million in diversified appreciating assets and you're asking to borrow $8 million, the bank isn't nervous at all. They could recover their money a dozen different ways before things went seriously wrong. So the terms shift dramatically. Interest rates drop. Repayment flexibility increases. You stop being a borrower they're worried about and start being a client they're competing to serve. And here's the part where the strategy becomes genuinely powerful. Asset-backed loans for the ultra-wealthy are often structured so that only the interest is required as a payment, not the principal, just the interest. Let that land for a moment. You borrow $10 million, your annual payment obligation might be $250,000 to $300,000 in interest. The original $10 million, it just sits. It rolls forward. It gets refinanced when the term ends. Meanwhile, that $10 million is funding your life. Vacations, properties, gifts, investments, all of it comes from borrowed money. And borrowed money is not income. It is not taxed. The government doesn't send you a bill for a loan. So you're living on millions per year, and your taxable income, the number that triggers capital gains, income taxes, and everything else, could be close to zero. Now someone's going to ask, what about when the loan comes due? What happens at the end of the term? Here's where it gets elegant. In 10 years, if your assets have grown, and historically, diversified assets tied to real estate and broad equity markets do grow over decade-long periods, you refinance. The new loan is backed by a larger asset base. You might even pull out more liquidity than before. The original loan closes, a new one opens, and the cycle continues. The wealthy aren't trying to pay the loan off. They're managing it, rolling it, using inflation to quietly erode the real value of what they owe while their assets compound in the other direction. It sounds impossible until you realize it's been the operating model of generational wealth for as long as private banking has existed. There's one final piece of this system that makes the whole thing almost poetic in how it closes. One day, the borrower dies. And this is where the strategy reaches its conclusion, not its unraveling. When you own assets and never sell them, the gains inside those assets never get taxed during your lifetime. Your stock portfolio might have been bought decades ago for $2 million and grown to $18 million. On paper, that's $16 million in gains. But you never sold, so you never triggered the tax event. At death, something called a stepped-up cost basis kicks in for inherited assets in the U.S. The tax system essentially resets the clock. Your heirs inherit those assets at current market value. If they sell immediately, they owe almost nothing in capital gains, because from the tax code's perspective, there are no gains. The asset was always worth what it's worth today. The loans? Those get settled by liquidating a fraction of the inherited assets that just had their cost basis reset, so the estate pays off the debt, keeps the remainder, and the heirs can begin the same process all over again. No massive tax event. No forced liquidation at the worst moment. No generational wealth destruction. Just a clean handoff and a new cycle beginning. Here's what this should actually teach you, regardless of where you are financially right now. The problem was never debt itself. The problem is debt without assets behind it. Debt is a tool. In the hands of someone with nothing to back it, it becomes a trap. In the hands of someone with a strong balance sheet, it becomes leverage, a way to access liquidity without triggering taxes, without selling compounding assets, without interrupting the long-term growth engine. The shift doesn't start with borrowing. It starts with accumulating, building the kind of asset base that changes how banks see you, how the tax code interacts with you, and how wealth behaves inside your family over time. Most people spend their entire lives on the wrong side of this equation, not because they lack intelligence, but because nobody ever showed them how the structure actually works. Now you've seen it. Know in the comments what you have gained from this video so that we can improve and keep doing that better. Don't forget to share this video with at least one person who will get some insights, because one video is enough to give people enough ideas to change their lives. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.